Hey, today, again, I'm filming another video on lessons in critical thinking, April 25th. I was talking about working at Salt and Lalem, and before I worked there, somebody told me, and I didn't believe it, that they tried really hard to help the First Nations people, and that, you know, what got in the way was the First Nations people. And I, I witnessed that quite a few times when I worked at Salt and Lalem and other First Nations cultures. And I suffered discrimination from them to me. The kind that they often complain would come from white people to them. And when you can experience this and talk to them about it, and the changes are minimal after these discussions with them, as it is from the other side, because again, the ignorance is great about how big these issues are. Uh, and that includes First Nations people against First Nations people. There's a lot of systemic discrimination there too, and whites against whites and things like that. And there's many things that can explain that within my grand unification theory of HSD. So when I'm trying to help the First Nations people, and there's many people that would still consider me part of the family and things like that. But when I experience those things, when I faced these obstacles where I couldn't help them as much as I wanted to help them, then you kind of give up, and go try to fight a different battle for cultural repair somewhere else on a different day. But it was nice to be, appreciated by them in the 4 years, and to be adopted by elders, and to still be in contact with many, and to have had letters of reference. But I discovered the same phenomenon traveling. Traveling, I would witness people in Japan or South Korea or Vietnam that don't realize that they're victims of this sometimes, because somebody makes them food, invites them, but I can tell sometimes from the nonverbal or conversations I overhear later that people don't realize, hey, I'm hearing and understanding this. You're talking about this other foreigner that just left, or that's not in this room right now, and it talks about how they're, it's conversations about how they're ignorant, they don't understand us, our culture, and we'll, appreciate them, but use them at the same time, and talk about them because they don't know our language sometimes when they're there. And, it happens in every country. So again, this is everywhere. And it's caused because we don't have the right worldview to see each other as one, one struggle of life for the pursuit of quality and happiness together as a people, as a species, and as a biosphere with the other species. So it's all philosophies of divisions, every monetary paradigm, every religion, even scientific theories of sociology, for example, that I recently kind of was discussing a little bit more about. They're all divisive. They're not uniting. They're not going to help create a global collective mind for the planet, for us to to re enter the conscious collective or unconscious collective of the biosphere of the planet, that is just trying to continue to you know pursue life as a wonderful experience of joy that partly happened through just happen to have the right elements and conditions astronomically and geologically for us to be here, and that a lot of our ancestors, species that became extinct, but even our own species, suffered through very hard times, and because they succeeded, we're here today. So we dishonor them and other species, not just our own, our ancestors, in so many ways. Now, these are not conversations that even First Nations people who talk about ancestors a lot would want to participate in, because it's too philosophical. And if you go in the past, and they don't want to go there, so we don't repeat the same issues or even question why were these issues still repeated today, then if you can't go from the past to today, that is more approachable, then future planning, future management. And of course I could talk to the best sociologists of the world, and the most elite and the most recognized, and they're surviving one day at a time, especially in their older ages, and they won't be able to uh, even be productive if they wanted to, but they usually won't choose to go that far into the future. And of course, and that far into the future could be like just 20 years. I'm not talking about hundreds of thousands of years, which includes their children and grandchildren's lifetime. So the fact that we don't do that, we've never really planned. Even before we were so interconnected all through the planet, when we were just smaller villages and communities, as there was little organization to actually plan for these kind of futures. Sometimes it would happen based on food supply. Okay, the glaciers melting more and more, and this is happening to our crops, or to the migration of animals, or to the ability to make fires, or whatever it is. There was some of that, but it wasn't cultural, and it wasn't long-term survival of the struggle for life to evolve, quality, culture, and also, like something that's meaningful, that if we ever leave our planet, we have something to offer if we meet anybody else, that, we already believe. Like, every culture within, even the subcultures within particular nations or between nations, all believe that they're better than the others. So this is such a generalized flaw everywhere, that imagine if we get onto a spaceship and we meet aliens on the way, and we're all arguing about which one of us is the best. It'll be very obvious to them that we don't have anything to offer them, right? Because as soon as we, the ones that dominate, probably with aggression, on the spaceship, and decide that they're the best, we will teach you, the aliens, to be as good as us. They're going to say, what the hell? And they're going to, they're probably going to put a tractor beam and bring us back here and say, you guys need to, get out of prepubescent maturation before you leave your solar system, and mature a little bit more. So I wanted to say that about this concept, of systemic discrimination. It's everywhere, and it's about everything, and it's even within the same ethnicities or subgroups, because it's not just about beliefs of religion. It's not just about cultural heritage. It's also about values. Like if somebody is in the pursuit of money more, or a career, or let's say somebody supports these kinds of activities or values, or solutions for the future, while somebody supports something else, and let's say they're both helpful, there'd still be a division, and antisocial behaviors that, is a term I learned with the First Nations, that we might say is lateral violence. And it happens within families now. And it happens not just, aunts, uncles, brothers or sisters that are grown up and live in different cities. I'm talking about in the same homes. And it's more and more. So the concept of family, for me, hasn't existed a long time. I'm still sometimes saying that word, but it's really the word relatives. And this relatives concept has still some power in our culture, or in the values of people I'm in a relatives relationship with, and sometimes they will act a certain way that I can predict or expect is likely to happen, but it's not it's not fueled from altruism. It's not fueled from what used to be the family values. It's more of a momentum, or a fear of being judged by others, and there's a lot of resistance. There's a lot of, I hate learning what your life is, because now I feel guilty. I don't want to help you because it takes away from me, even though I have to have 10 times more than you, and I would barely notice the difference. It's very, very sad to see this. So lessons in critical thinking is, please clean up your own backyards. Please stop focusing so much on what others can do, because each of us, including me, but also definitely the 99.6% of you, the Homo communia, have more than the rest of your lives of work to clean up your own backyard. So do this, and then after that, maybe if you live 300 years, criticize the others.